Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about 5 things to consider before you unpublish your self-published book. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Katherine D. Graham and I am the fantasy author of The Vow That Twisted Fate, which is an Amazon best-selling novel. I've been putting books out longer than my debut novel came out for The Vow That Twisted Fate last year. If you know my story, you know that I published a couple books that I put out that I wrote in college, and I tried mostly to self-edit and wasn't familiar with the process, didn't get a professional editor to do my work, and I have actually taken those books off the market. They are unpublished and will remain unpublished. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit about what you need to keep in mind if you're considering doing the same thing, whether that's the quality isn't up to your standards or you're getting bad reviews. We're going to touch a little bit on all of that. So let's jump right in. The first thing to consider when you're talking about taking a book off of Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever you have it published right now is how grievous are the errors, how bad are the errors that you're wanting to fix. Now, this might seem like a big deal to you. Oh, this is life or death. The book has to come down. If it doesn't come down, I'm going to be so embarrassed. But believe it or not, even traditionally published authors have minor errors in their books because even editors, once we edit a book so many times, we get page blindness and we miss minor typos. That's why you pull up famous books and you're reading through and all of a sudden, lo and behold, there's a missed typo. Because even going through 4 or 5 rounds of editors, things just slip through. It just happens. So if what you're looking at is a book that's filled with minor typos, you've got maybe a small plot hole here or there, then you might not want to pull your book down. You might want to work on a revised edition, because right now the first version you published is a first edition, and re-upload your second edition once your interior file is updated with all those corrections. Sometimes readers will reach out to Amazon and say that there are typos or grammatical errors in a book. I, as a reader, implore other readers to consider putting the feedback in your comment and not necessarily reporting the book unless you genuinely feel like it's so bad or so much worse than traditional that you have no other choice, because that can actually put the entire book on hold. And with indie authors, you can just reach out to the indie author and let them know, or you can write it in your review if you don't want to talk to them directly. But seriously, small typos and grammatical errors can add up over time, but they're not as bad as having a gaping plot hole in your book. Maybe you killed off a character and brought them back later on, and now you realized, oh no, in book 3 this character's still alive, and now I've got to go back and fix this in book 1, and now you're stuck talking about a whole series. So that would be a much more tough decision about whether or not to unpublish your book while you're making the corrections. So just keep in mind, is the corrections that you're trying to make, or are the corrections you're trying to make in your book small enough that readers can still read it, they can still enjoy it, they can still have access to it, and then when you upload your new edition, it's just the second edition and it uploads the updated version onto their Kindles and you don't have to worry about it? Or are these big make it or break it, this person will never read my book again if this isn't fixed, errors, in which case, yeah, you might want to take that one down. The second thing to consider when deciding whether or not to unpublish your book is whether your errors are content related or technical, which I sort of touched on in point 1 a little bit. Technical errors are more forgivable than content errors. Changing your character's name midway through the book and never coming back and using them by using their real name, that would be a content error, continuity error too. Writing a series and coming back and realizing that you killed off a character that was still alive later on, or maybe you left a character alive that you had meant to kill off, or some other big plot related thing. In that case, again, content holds a little more weight. What are you trying to fix by unpublishing it? And always basically asking yourself, is that worth taking it down, or can it stay as is until you upload a new file? For Amazon purposes, you don't have to put a whole new edition if you're just correcting technical errors based on their current terms of service as of June 2022. That means that if all you're doing is correcting typos, you can go into your Kindle Direct Publishing, you can upload a new file, done, easy peasy. If, however, you're changing the plot, that now requires a whole new edition, not a whole new book. Don't go into KDP and create a whole new book, but when you upload it, go into the description and change the edition number to second edition. The third thing to consider before you pull your book off is, what are your reviewers and your readers currently saying about your book? If you notice that you have 15 typos in the first chapter, and that's eating away at you, but none of your readers are marking you down, and you're still getting 4 stars and 5-star reviews, or 3, 4, and 5-star reviews, chances are you are okay. That means not okay as in leave them in your book, but okay to correct them and upload a new file without pulling it down offline. If, however, what you need to fix is a big enough deal that it's affecting your reviews, you're getting 1 stars and 2 stars like I was with my first 2 books that I self-pubbed a long time ago, when those things like this is poorly written, this is poorly edited, those little things start to pop up, that is where you might want to push the brakes and take that book down before it gets seen by more people who will leave it more reviews. I do want to point out here, as someone who's pulled down my flop books, that pulling your book down is not a fix for your bad reviews. The bad reviews don't go away. So I still have those first 2 books that are unpublished up on my Amazon from years ago, and the reviews stay with them. The books are still on Amazon. You can still see the reviews they got there. Of course, I went and finished my college education, finished training on being an editor, learned this process front and back before I put out The Violet Twisted Fate, and the reviews speak volumes to that. The fact that The Violet Twisted Fate has a 4.5-star average rating versus my old flop books, which were 1 and 2-star reviews, speaks to the way my content has grown. However, if you don't release a new version of your book with an updated description to explain how you fix the holes, or explain, new edition, to get more readers, to give it a chance to offset some of those low scores, those low ratings will affect your average as an author for the rest of your writing career. So if you do unpublish, I urge you to consider republishing a corrected version if at all possible. That way you have a chance at lifting those average ratings up above a 1 and 2, and they won't pull down your overall rating as an author. So my overall rating on Goodreads today is a 3.2 something. However, all the books that I've put out in the last year have been getting it's almost 4.5-star average reviews. So those first 2 books do hurt my overall rating, and they're not a reflection on my current writing style, but they don't go away just because you unpublish it. The listing doesn't get taken down off Amazon forever or anything like that. So this isn't a whiteout start all over unless you're going to change your pen name. The fourth thing of the 5 to consider before you pull your books offline is, how long will it take to fix your books? So let's say you have a plot hole. You've already released the first 2 or 3 books in the series. You know this character needs to come back to life or whatever it is. And you know it's probably going to take you months because you got to fix book 1, and then you got to fix book 2, and then you got to get to book 3 where you realize there's a hole, and then you got to reformat all of them. You got to re-upload all of them to all the different places. If this is a fix that looks like it's going to take 5, 6, 7 months to put in place, you really have to ask yourself, is it worth not having my books available for readers? And that I would tie in with the question about the reviews. If the reviews are bad, sure, you might want to pause it and wait 6 or 7 months and do a big old relaunch with all the publicity. But if you're not getting knocked reviews, then you may not want to have readers with nothing to read for 6 to 7 months so that you can fix a plot hole and then put it back out. Now, I am very transparent with my readers. I like to keep them in the loop on what's going on. So, for example, my readers know that my Splitting Dawn series is getting pulled. It's going to come down off of Amazon by the end of this year with a couple exceptions, and I'm going to start re-releasing full-length versions of these novellas with rebranded covers. And they know that if they want the originals and they want to say they have the first draft, they can go get those now. But I'm not pulling those novellas down until I have the completed novel to replace them with. The fifth and final point to consider before you pull your book down is whether or not you need a new edition or a new version. And for the sake of this video, an edition means first edition, second edition, third edition, etc., etc. Things that you change for minor technical details. New versions need to be completely separate books on whatever platform you're distributing on. So this would be collector's editions. Although the word edition is in the title, it's a whole new book. It's going to have scenes that the other books don't have. It's going to cut out some of the fluff the other books didn't need, as well as those corrections that you made. It might have a new cover. There are new cover versions that pop out when authors want to release a corrected version of their book all the time. And when that new version comes out, the other version goes unavailable. So that is... I hope you guys can hear me. I know that there's people watching live. So if you can hear me, let me know, because my camera, it looks like, just sort of went black here. But hello, YouTube world. Can you hear me? I think so. I'm still getting a green light on the mic. All right. So, yeah. Can hear. Okay, that's all that matters. You can see the slide and you can hear me. So, yes, you need to ask yourself whether it needs a whole new version or a new edition. If it does need a new version, like the rebranded versions of the Splitting Worlds novellas that are coming out, you can leave the old versions up until those get ready to come down, unless, again, it's contributing to bad reviews. You don't want to hurt your overall brand. So there's a couple key things that are fueling all the slides that I've shared today. The first is, really, who are you serving by making the changes that you're making with your book? Are you making these changes to feel better about yourself, about your work, and present a professional piece, but other people haven't seemed to notice? In that case, you may not want to take your book down. If you're doing this to serve your readers, meaning you're hearing them, you're seeing the reviews, you understand that this is a disservice to them and it's going to create confusion down the line, then you have two choices. You either have to really scurry to get that change done and out as quickly as possible after you've unpublished, or leave it up with a disclaimer that a new version's coming. So I don't know that this is a one-size-fits-all kind of question. These are all just considerations. If you have unpublished your books, I would love to hear in the comments what the decision was tipped by. What made you decide to go that route? If you have republished them, did the republish go better? Did you try for a new cover? Did you just upload a new interior? These are all really interesting things. Now, when I upload the Violet Twisted Fate Collector's Edition in the future, it will have a new cover. It'll be a new cover version and all of that, but I will also be making some minor changes to the first edition that are just technical, no content. And I will be doing both. I'll be creating a new version with the collector's edition that has all the deleted scenes and the new cover and all that, but then I will also be giving my readers a typo-free, as much typo-free as I can make it, version of the Violet Twisted Fate that they've come to know and love. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this video helpful. I will be doing more videos on indie author behind the scenes in the coming weeks, and also we have some indie author live chats. This week we have a very special indie author coming to visit on Wednesday. That is J.L. Vampa. She is a bookstore owner as well as an indie writer who did exceptionally well with her writing and has now been signed by Phantom House Press with the first volume of her Sister Solstice series. So come hop on in and hear what it's like being a hybrid author, meaning traditionally published and also indie. Thanks so much, everybody. Take care.